Hi, so today I'll be talking about the surveys and methods used to measure anthropometry and physical activity levels in Australia. So just an outline of what's going to happen today. I'll be introducing the topic. I will then be talking about the key findings on anthropometry, such as the surveys and methods used in large-scale studies, followed by physical activity levels. I'll then summarise the main points to take away from this lesson. So just an introduction. So anthropometry is a tool that's widely used in practice and it assesses body measurements such as waist circumference, arm circumference, height, weight, BMI, etc. So physical activity levels are also used in practice, and this helps clinicians come up with a plan that's specific to the individual needs. So both of these tools are also used in large-scale studies, and that's assessing anthropometric data and physical activity levels within the population. So the ways in which anthropometric data and physical activity levels are collected on a large scale will be explained further throughout this lesson. So some of the sources that we use for this presentation include the Australian Health Survey, the National Nutrition Survey, the Sizing Up Australia Survey, as well as a handbook of anthropometry. I also use general articles on measuring physical activity, metabolic equivalents, as well as accelerometer and pedometers. These sources were used because I thought they provided me with the most accurate information on this topic. So for anthropometry and the methods used for data collection, usually direct methods are used, such as measuring tapes, weights, pillars, and rulers. However, in large-scale data collection methods, direct anthropometry can be quite time-consuming, labour-intensive, and does require prior training or some level of expertise. Therefore, we can employ indirect methods. However, these indirect methods are mainly used for the measurement of facial soft tissues. So for the first method, we have two-dimensional photogrammetry, and this is measuring objects from photos. It can be obtained quickly, so it is very time efficient and enables you to have a permanent record of the patient. So it can be retrieved and re-evaluated very quickly. However, the disadvantages associated with this method is that the quality of a photo might be affected, and this is mainly due to lighting or projection distortion, and we also have errors in body landmarks on the photos. For the second method, we have stereophotogrammetry, and this measures soft tissue changes by estimating the 3D coordinates of points of an object. So measurements are estimated from calculations drawn from two or more simultaneously obtained photos from different angles. So the disadvantages for this method is that it's subject to client's positioning and it's sensitive to the lighting used in the original photograph. It is also less portable compared to direct anthropometry. So for 3D photogrammetry, we have light, laser or other energy to project a 3D model of the head and face from a 2D digital image of the surface. It is quite expensive and it is less portable. So for the surveys used for data collection, we have the Australian Body Sizing Survey and the National Nutrition Survey. So the Australian Body Sizing Survey was a project that was commissioned by Safe Work Australia, and it aimed to assess the suitability and use of anthropometric data by individuals who design products and workplaces for the Australian industry. Now this survey aimed to collect data on 100 to 150 body measurements. However, as a baseline requirement or an essential body measurement was height and weight. So the National Nutrition Survey also collected physical measurements on height, weight, waist and hip circumference, as well as blood pressure and BMI. So moving on to physical activities, we'll now talk about the methods that are used for data collection. So the first method is self-reported questionnaires, as well as self-reported diaries and logs. So self-reported diaries and logs require participants to record the activity in real time and this avoids the disadvantages associated with self-reported questionnaires, such as recall and measurement bias, as well as social desirability. Also for questionnaires, if they are not conducted in real time or shortly after the activity, the client may experience memory bias. So the third method, we have metabolic equivalence, but that will be talked about further in the next slide. So for direct observation, this involves a researcher monitoring and recording the physical activity of the patient. This method is fairly common or fairly popular amongst children, and this is mainly due to the recall errors. So direct observation enables other information such as location, time, details of physical activity to also be collected, so contextual information. However, it is fairly expensive, time-consuming, and could also be subject to participant reactivity, which is a phenomenon of behavior change due to being aware that you are being watched. So we also have devices that can measure physical activity levels, such as accelerometers, pedometers, heart rate monitors, and armbands. So accelerometers, they measure acceleration, and they can be used to determine time spent on different physical activities and the associated intensities. Although accelerometers are also expensive, just like direct observation, and however, they don't provide any contextual information, and they can be subject to participant reactivity. For pedometers, they only measure the steps taken throughout the day. However, they do not measure intensity, duration, or the type of physical activity. Armbands have motion and heat sensors, which measure energy expenditure as well as metabolic physical activity. So, also, another thing to note, when we're assessing physical activity levels, you can also combine methods, such as using a self-reported questionnaire and a pedometer to collect the most, or to obtain the most accurate information. So for metabolic equivalence, it is defined as the resting metabolic rate, or the amount of oxygen consumed at rest. This is determined by the following equation, and it is equivalent to 1 net, which is 2.5 milliliters per kilogram of body weight per minute. So, as your oxygen demand increases, so does your intensity, and so does your MET. So, METs can be categorized into 3 classes based on intensity, and this is low, medium, and high. Low intensity is 1 to 4 METs, medium intensity 5 to 8 METs, and high intensity anything 8 METs and above. So, swimming, boot camp, and running would be classed as high intensity, and this can be seen from the diagram. As for surveys used for data collection for physical activity levels, it is mainly the Australian Health Survey, and this incorporates the National Health Survey and the National Nutrition and Physical Activity Survey, which was conducted in Australia. It assessed health-related issues such as health service usage and medication. The survey also assessed physical activity, which was collected by self-reported methods and pedometers. The Australian Health Survey assessed walking to public transport, so incidental physical activity, moderate to vigorous physical activity, so intended physical activity, as well as recreation and sport, which can also be classed as intended physical activity. In this way, they also assess the length of time and the level of intensity of physical activity. To summarise this lesson, many methods are used to measure anthropometry and physical activity levels in Australia, such as direct anthropometry and accelerometers, as well as surveys such as the National Nutrition Survey and National Nutrition and Physical Activity Survey. However, some implications for practice are that direct anthropometry is quite time-consuming for large-scale studies and can be labour-intensive and require some prior training or some level of expertise. Pedometers also do not assess intensity, duration, or type of physical activities, as well as upper body movements. Only steps taken throughout the day. Thank you for listening to my presentation.